Hi, I'm Patricia Rawlinson with Creative Arts Lifestyle, and today I'm going to teach you how to paint this lovely new set of ornaments. It's the fourth in a series that has all the same palette and the same basic design where the words are a separate little piece. So they're very dimensional, they're very bright, very festive. You can paint this set or you can collect them all, and if you collect them all you'll have a very nice cohesive set to put on your Christmas tree or give as gifts. I hope you enjoy the lesson. Alright, I'm base coating my letters in antique gold, and I based this in black. And I wanted to share, there's a new kind of sponge in town. This is a really ultra dense sponge that is like, you know, they make the makeup applicators and stuff like that. This is like 3 times stronger and sturdier than that. Super flexible and moldable. Comes in these kind of interesting shapes and sizes. I think these would be fantastic for getting into little nooks and crannies and things like that. But they base coat a lot like a jumbo dauber, but when I put my paint on a bigger surface, I've never used my jumbo dauber to like spread the paint around. These like suck straight down to it, so you can apply real easily, and then they're really malleable and moldable, so you can get cupped right to edges and things like that. So what I've done here on this cutout, because the cutouts are real problematic if you use a brush, you always want to use a sponge to base them, is I've just gone ahead and tapped. And you can put some extra pressure if you need it, wherever you do need it, and then you can smooth it out. What I was impressed about with the black when I base coated is how my base coat was so nice and thin that it instantly dried, and then I could instantly do my next coat. And the way that you take care of these is you wash them in warm soapy water and then rinse them out with warm water and then let them air dry for at least 24 hours, and then they're ready to use again. So super easy to care for, and I think they're going to be an awesome little tool. Okay, while I'm waiting for my letters to dry right there, I'm going to use my compass and make a band all the way around. And keep the angle of the compass always pointed in the same direction so that your band doesn't get 2 different sizes like mine just did. There we go. And then I'll base that in the red. So to get some control for base coating these all these letters, I based right next to the features that I didn't want to get paint on, and then I'm just using this kind of controlled palette to tap on my paint. And these are just little sleeves, so these just slip off and you can replace them. They come with a couple per set. And I like the idea of this hard plastic in there because it's making the sponge even firmer than the sponge is normally. And it doesn't make a mess in my letters. I feel like this is a great little thing for these cutouts. Alright, so now we're going to shade and highlight our letters. So we're going to shade with soft black, and I'm going to use this short bright brush. You can get huge control with the short brights. They don't get like gunky and all that kind of stuff. I'm not sure quite why they work so well, but they work. I'll just pat that on and then blend. If you don't have too much paint out near the edge, then it won't make a big mess. Okay, now we're going to highlight the tops of the letters. And it's important when you're doing this, so you don't fall off the edge of the letters, that you lean back and more pat the color on than try to do a controlled float and then smooth. If I stand upright, I'm going to have this side of my brush go off the edge, and I'm going to have that side of my brush go off the edge. So this way I can keep the paintbrush on there and walk my float down just a little bit so it's prettier. Okay, next we're going to highlight the shade the letters above the yellow letters with burnt sienna. I'm just going to keep my brush tilted back again. Whenever you feel like you're going to run off the edge, that's when you want to tilt your brush back and do more of that patting action. Pretend that snowflake doesn't exist for right now. These little letters on these ornaments are so much fun. I love the dimension. Okay, and I'll let that dry, and then we'll highlight the letters. Okay, now we're going to go into, and the other thing you don't want too much when you're doing your floats is too much water. That's where these short braids really come in handy. We're going into banana cream. I'll drag that down with the letters. Doing a little walking so you see what I'm doing. I'm laying it down and then going over it a couple times, moving my brush down the letter. Okay, and just continue. Okay, now if you feel like maybe my pinks aren't looking as pink as I'd like them to be, you can go back through and not walk them down as far, but you can go and give it one more coat of float. And that, see how that's just a little bit brighter and it's not so transparent right there. Okay, I've got my base coats done, and now it's time to go ahead and get our details going. We're going to use coral blush, and we're going to use a crescent stencil brush. And these are really cool because, I don't know, like you can see what size this is. Some of this detail is really small, but this little tiny, this is the 1/8 inch, gets in, and you can do some scumbling effects in these really tiny areas really easily, and then you can go up to the 1/4 and stuff like that. But this 1/8 inch one is really a brush that you need if you're going to do anything this small. And when using these kinds of brushes and doing the dry rubbing technique, always get like a shop towel, or I think Viva is a good brand that doesn't do the lint and stuff, so you want something that it's not going to pill up on you. So we're going to take our coral blush and we're going to rub off most of the paint, and then we're going to, he's got these lovely little wrinkles in his scarf. Let's go ahead and keep those. And so we'll do kind of like shape following scumbles. And we'll leave a ditch in the middle, and that'll already make it look like it's got folds. And see, the neat thing about this brush is when you use it on this chisel edge, it's real skinny, but then you can turn it flat and it's fat. So very versatile brushes. And we repeat for strength. Continue, and we'll go on to our candy cane stripes. Notice the difference in these two colors. This was based over white and this was based just over black, and these are really bright and this is really dull, and what's interesting is it's the same color. So if you want your reds to appear brighter, put them over white, and if you want them to be duller, you put them over a dark color, and you can kind of control your reds. Alright, I think maybe one more time on the little scarf. See how that's just building up and up and up. Then we'll trade over to do our reindeer. And we'll do the same thing. And I don't know how much I'm going to get on there. And sometimes you need to look at your picture, see what you're doing. How does that bow go? Okay, so we'll give him this little knot. And this is the fun part, making all the things look like they're dimensional and bent and moving and stuff like that. I love it. And this guy over here only has one loop. Alright, the next thing we'll do is we'll get to shading our scarf. We'll walk that out. I'm using a short bright brush with a little bit too much water, so I'll blot a little bit. And see, this loops down over here. If you walk it out a little bit, then it gives the appearance of a little bit longer float. Okay, let's see what our stuff is doing there. Shade right up next to his face. And I like to pick up just a little bit more water without necessarily washing out my brush. It makes it so that you can get a lot more work done a lot more quickly if you're not washing between each and every step. Take our little penguin guy. Oops, way too much water. Alright, and now what we'll do is we'll grab this and just do each of the little folds. He's cute. He's all buried up in his little scarf. Adorable. Okay, so we're going to load some strong but not wet floats. Yeah, so that's too big. What I don't want is for my float to come out to my brush too much. So I'm going to switch to my smaller brush, number 8, short bright, and I'm going to use even less paint, just a little corner of it. See the difference in this float versus that float. If you can control the amount of paint that you have, then you can control how fat that float gets. So I'm just tipping that corner and shading that red. And then I'll flip it around and do the opposite side. Okay, so we're going to use Hauser dark green and our little brush and control that float. And then what we'll do is we'll sneak up a vein on each of our little greeneries. And then that makes it real easy to, you don't have to do so much work for it. And then we'll shade on his earmuffs. And then we'll go back to his greenery and we'll shade at the base of all of them. Okay, and we're going to repeat with the same technique over here. And need a pattern. See who's on top of what. And then we'll go back. And that back one is under, and then we'll shade these to make them appear as if one is on top of the other and stuff as well. So make sure you give them their shapes. And then I'll stay out of that until that dries, and then I'll cut across and do the other ones. Okay, so we're going to move into uniform blue, and I'm going to make sure my brush is a little bit dry, because now we're on the white of the candy cane. And the uniform blue is going to shade the white. Okay, and so see how nice and controlled that is, but it still gives it that I'm a shaded thing look. And the soft black kind of fades into that blue. Turn your surface so that you get the good angle. Okay, now we'll do a little bit wider float, and we'll give our little penguin a little bit of a blue belly. Give him a little bit of detail. Shade on his cheek. And then shade up each side, just to give him a little bit like he's got a pot belly sticking out there. Okay, we're going to go into strong white paint, and we are going to go and make, let's see, I wonder which side I want this. I'll go on the outside. We're going to make a strong white stripe down the side, and that's what's going to give your candy cane a little three-dimensional effect. Okay, we're going to go into a little bit of peacock teal and dry rub, and we're going to give this little hand a little highlight, this little arm a highlight. Get you on camera. This little tushy a highlight. So what I'll do is I'll do this dry rub technique right up next to that little tushki, and then I will float right next to that. So we'll take our wonderful short bright, and we'll give it that little, and that's a good way to carry your float around. Let's go ahead and float that whole rumpus there. Okay, and let's give him a little sprinkle. I think I'm going to need some Indian turquoise. I'm not quite getting it as bright as I want, so I'll just go dirty brush into the Indian turquoise and give just a little kiss of color on the ends of our greenery. A little bit of a highlight on our highlight. I like that a little bit better. And then we'll go ahead and give a little bit of glaze over here. A little bit over here on the edge of his scarf. Yeah, sometimes you just need to carry the colors around. We probably could give a kiss of this color on our candy cane. Nah, I don't like it. Alright, and we'll go on to his little beak. And just a little bit of a shade to look like that cinches in, and then we'll give his little earmuff band a burnt sienna shade as well. We probably will want to go ahead and give him a little dry brushed highlight. I've got some of my antique gold. Just dry brush a little highlight up there. And, oh, his greenery needs to have a little bit of a stipple. Let's take a dome brush and let's go, I'm almost going to say let's go into this Indian turquoise. Give him that little bit of teal on there, or green. Okay, so we're going to do a couple little teardrop strokes for his eyes. Cute, cute, cute. And then we'll take our Raphael, which will give me the tremendously pointy point, and we will give him little eye sparkles. And then I really like what I did with another penguin recently where I gave him some little hairs. So I think we'll give him some little hairs. I think that just breaks that line just a little bit and doesn't make it look so stark. Gives him a little bit of a bang kind of situation. Okay, now we'll go into our coral, and we'll give some little fringes down here. And we'll give them little knots. Maybe we'll give them just a little bit. Yeah. I was thinking maybe we'd give them a little bit of a stripe on here. Let's see what that looks like. Maybe we can have a little weave. Yeah, I kind of like it. So in this one, let's not go all the way down. Let's give him a weave going like over each of the layers of the scarf. Okay, I wanted to try something a little bit different, so I've taken this pearl pen and I've just dribbled, just squeeze and dribble out some snow on there and lock it back down, and then I've got my little glitter tray, and we'll just go ahead and sprinkle that pearly looking snow with a little bit of glitter. This is the multi-crystal glitter mix, and I love it because there's all different sizes of glitters. And then we tap that off, and look at how nice that looks. He looks a little lonely though, so I think we need to give him a little bit around, like on his hat here. A little bit on his earmuffs. Maybe a little bit on his, let's put a little bit on his greenery. Maybe on the top of his candy cane. Maybe this guy too. Then you'll need to let this sit off to the side and get nice and dry. Okay, there we have it. Okay, on our little reindeer, we're going to take some Hauser medium green, and we're going to wipe off a little bit of excess. And I'm going to give myself a little stem, and then I'm going to give myself some greenery. Repeat it with with olive green. And bring it up behind his neck. Doesn't have to touch, it doesn't have to be precise. It's just a little bit of lining work to indicate stuff. That was based with Hauser dark green. Okay, so now we'll go in with our olive green and repeat. Using my Raphael brush, which gives you that wonderful little point. I'm going to go one more time with the olive, just a little bit, ooh, high, stronger. Those layers just really build up and it starts getting real pretty. Okay, so I'm going to use my little line drawing here to take a look and see what I need to do for my Rudolph. I'm going to use Camel And I'm going to give him a big old highlight to indicate here's the top of his head and that's raised. His ears are going to be highlighted to the top. And then of course in the middle of his little muzzle, can work on that and build it up just a little bit so you get a good color. And you could give him a little bit of a stipply action. Just a little bit more. Gives him a little bit of a furry texture too. Alright, and then we're going to shade using my number 12 short bright. So I'm getting a nice fat flute. Funny little shaped face. Okay, and now what we'll do is we'll go over the top. And then we'll go over the top of the head. We'll just patch things. And we'll give his ears a little shade underneath. And walk that down a little bit. There he's taking shape. And then you do a C stroke to the bottom. And hit the top of his nose. Okay, and we'll go and get the top of his ears with a little dry brush. Maybe just a little bit too much of a dry brush. And we'll go ahead and lighten that up a little bit and get his little hooves, his paws. Brighten those up just a bit. Okay, so we're going to do his mouth with a little thinned soft black. Black might just be just a little bit too strong. Okay, and then we might want to go ahead and line his head just a little bit. And then let's give him a couple of little ear tufts. And maybe we'll give him a couple of little hairs too. Alright, we're going to go onto his antlers with a little bit of milk chocolate. And we'll just go ahead and scumble right in the middle of those. And it's not showing up so well, so let's go into some cocoa and repeat with cocoa. There we go. a shade with a little bit of soft black to anchor those to his head. And I think we'll go ahead and give him, with the back of my brush, just a couple of little berries. Let's go here, here, here. Gives it a little bit more festive touch. And dry rub his nose with coral blush, keeping my hands out of my berries. Oops. And let's go ahead and give him some blusher on his cheek too. I think that might need to be red and coral blush. A little mix. Really dry that off. And we'll give him a little pink in his ears. Okay, so we are going to base his eyes just in the ocean blue, because if you based them in black, then they would be hard to cover over with the ocean blue, and the ocean blue will be brighter if we go over the white. So just go ahead and get them both based, and then we'll put the black over the ocean blue. He's a little blue-eye guy. And while we're waiting for my eyes to dry, then we'll go ahead and give him some little accents. And I think I want some peacock. I don't like just that Indian turquoise. So I think we'll give a peacock Indian turquoise mix. And then just brush mixing. Give a little bit of accent to some of our greeneries. There in the antlers, just to add some spunk. Yeah, I think that gives it just a little brightness, and then we'll go ahead and go with a little bit of that color mix with our liner, and go ahead and line on a couple of these. Here's a big hint. I've got my liner brush, and I haven't soaked it and let it sit for a minute. It wasn't soaking up any of my paint, so I'm just going to let that sit there for just a second. And in the meantime, I think my blue eyes are done drying, and so go ahead and give him some black. Okay, and then he needs a little white highlight in his eye. Okay, so I'm going to go in, give a couple of little highlights on the greenery with my mix of the peacock and the Indian turquoise. And then I'll rinse my brush, and because the Raphael gets such a nice fine point, I'll go into, I'm going to make him looking up to this side. And let's give him a little sparkle on his nose too. Alright. Alright, I'm going to just kind of warm up the body of the yellow, just in that middle section, with some saffron yellow. I like it a little bit more gold. Okay, so we have to get some white established on our candles. Our candles are based in antique white, and we're going to dry rub their centers with white, just to give them a little bit of roundness. We'll go into, oops. Let's go into milk chocolate with a nice, really blended float. Okay, we'll go for a big tall guy first. I cut right through that flame so that I can just have that be just a non-interrupted float. Kick it off of that edge. Go. A little bit of movement going on. Then we'll take a kind of a finer float, but a little bit heavier, and we'll make that area where the flame disappears. A candle cup lip kind of thing. Then I'm going to move to a smaller brush and do a really controlled float using that short bright. Very scant paint because I want to go underneath all these drips. Make sure your paint is dry before you do it. And it's almost liney. It's got just enough water to make it. Look at how nice and controlled that is. This is a really small area. This brush is as big as that area is, but look at how only much. And let's come in just a little bit. Zoom. Okay, you can see like right here, see how that's nice and faded out. So even in a very microscopic area, you can apply a float. Blend again. And come down over here. It's a little bit dark right there. Okay, and then again, I'm just following the line and allowing the brush to get skinny when it goes up and down. Okay, so those three are done. Now I'm going to make a little bit wider float. So a little bit this is deciding where you need wide floats and where you need skinny floats. So that's something to start watching, is when you feel like you need that wider float, try to give yourself that wider float. Instead of just like, hey, I'm floating, maybe like, hey, do I need a wide float, or hey, do I need a skinny float? Okay, now get that flame base coated. Okay, now we're going to go with our white, and we'll get some of that ha-cha-cha highlights going there on the drippy stuff. So these are going to be a skinny, fat, skinny on those drips. So on the cupped part, on the part that goes horizontally, that will be your fat, and then on the up part, that will be your skinny. So you press down just a little bit more, and then up here where it's spilling over the edge, you can give it a little highlight as well. Big drip there. All right, so we're going to go into burnt sienna, and that's going to be our flame base and the float. Maybe we could afford that to be just a little teeny bit stronger. So just repeat. Okay, so we're going to get a little bit of the saffron going up there on the candle flame. Get a good angle going. Always float towards you so that you can see what your brush is doing. That's why I was turning my piece around a lot. Getting the right angle. And then I'm just going to take this dirty brush into the milk chocolate. I'm going to make a little line for the candle flame. Sometimes you just don't need to be too accurate. It just needs to indicate the line. Alright, we'll go into peacock and the Indian turquoise, and we'll add some hints and glazes of this here and there as well. That's just a little splash of some color. And we'll give a little candle flames just a little bit as well. Then we use the back of our paintbrush in a size that we like, and we'll make these little berries. Add us a little bit of red to what we've got going on. Nice big hunkin' one there. And then when we add the other little deals there, then that just adds the color as well. Okay, I got Dustin to make me a stencil for my snowflakes. So I'm going to line up my snowflakes with the correct size, and I'm going to just stipple them. Let's see if I can find one. This one looks... Probably should have found one before I got the camera going. Okay, I think that's ish about right. I'll go into white. And what I like about this is I don't have to figure out what it needs when it goes over the letters. And I'll let that dry. Okay, I'm a little bit short on that guy. Anyway, and then I'll lay over all the other ones and get them all white, and then I'm going to use the pearl pen and the glitter to make them glitzy. Okay, so I'll put some pearl pen over on my palette. I'll stipple on my little snowflakes, keeping myself out of the pearl pen. And then I'm going to sprinkle my glitter over the pearl pen. And that gives us lovely twinkles.